So today I'm going to be giving you guys a review of Hunter x Hunter, The Last Mission, the latest movie to come out of Hunter x Hunter, and just kind of give my thoughts a little bit about what I thought of it. Now I want to start off by saying that compared to the first film, I will automatically tell you guys that I think it's a way better film than the first one. The first one, it was alright. It really had a lot of different problems, I felt, and I never really gave a review because of that. I was kind of like a little bit disappointed. So going into this movie, I didn't really have any expectations at all, just because I didn't want to be let down like the first film. Now the film starts off with a bang, the Netero versus Jed scene where they're just going in, fighting muscle upon muscle. I was like, hell's fucking yeah, this is how you start a film. It starts off almost immediately with CGI, and it wasn't really bad CGI or anything like that. And the CGI scenes that we did get in this film, sometimes it actually looked good on character models at that, because normally I don't like CGI, especially bad looking CGI, but the CGI in some of these scenes, like there's times where like going and spinning around and everything, it actually looked pretty good. So I gotta commend them for doing decent CGI when really Sunrise is the only studio usually capable of doing proper CGI. And with this film, basically the threat is this guy Jed and this thing called On. It's similar to Nen, except it's just pure hatred and rage, and it kind of consumes people, and ultimately it gives them a different type of power, and it's just a completely hate-filled power that fuels these people. Now, starting off with this movie, I gotta say, I definitely feel that them kind of roping Netero up because he's pretty much ensnared throughout the entire film, it was mainly a plot device. That was definitely because, let's keep it real, from what we know from Netero, if he was loose the entire film, he would have ended this movie within a couple minutes. So the fact that it was done that way, that was definitely a plot device to keep him, at bay, so that way the other characters can actually do things and we can have a story to tell. The interesting thing about On is that it has all the different types that Nen can have, so I feel as though definitely as far as amplified goes compared to Nen, it has some interesting and to a certain degree better advantages than Nen, because Nen, you only have specific types, but On pretty much has it all, except it kind of makes certain people, especially it seems as though weaker people, kind of just like go delusional and insane. I want to say that throughout this entire movie, for the most part, if you're a Leodio fan, you're going to kind of be a little peed off, because he is basically all comedy in this film. He is there for comedic purposes. I mean, in the beginning of the film, he gets thrown into a goddamn sewer, so if you're a Leodio fan, you're gonna kind of feel a little bit disappointed, because he was just like a clown in this film. It was funny, and it was played up for laughs, but ultimately, he doesn't do anything really badass in this film. So, sorry Leodio fans, but yeah, he doesn't really kick so much ass in this one. We get the return of Kurapika for a little bit in this film, so anime fans rejoice, because as some of you know, we haven't seen Kurapika in a long time up to this particular point where we're at in the story. So, getting to see Kurapika again was pretty cool, and ultimately, I like how they played off of his hatred, because you know how I just described N is pretty much like filled with hatred, it's just this entity that is filled with hatred, and Kurapika, a lot of his mission in life is kind of filled off vengeance and hatred as well. So I definitely like how they incorporated that and kind of did a comparison to On's hatred and what Kurapika is after and his ultimate rage inside of him. Killua and Gon, though, are definitely the ones that drive this story. They're the ones that have pretty much the most screen time, the most fights, and for the most part, the fights that they've had throughout this film was pretty awesome. There was one where he just kept on screaming, I'm strong, which it had me dying laughing, because a lot of the villains in this one, the character designs kind of reminded me of like 90s anime, like from Fist of the North Star. There's a dude that has like these big shoulder spikes and everything. It kind of reminded me of like the 90s anime with the character designs and everything, and a lot of the fights were pretty interesting, really were over the top, especially some of the stuff when like Gon lets loose and goes crazy, shit gets real. Killdua's voice actress killed it as per usual. All of her performances in here was solid as ever. Killua just sounded on point. I definitely found it interesting that the setting for this film was Heaven's Arena, and throughout the movie you get a lot of different cameos from several of the characters from the series, such as Bisky, Zushi, Wing, Hisoka. Speaking of Hisoka real quick, I definitely gotta say that Hisoka as well, if you're a big Hisoka fan, he's in the movie, but he really doesn't do anything, so you might be disappointed as well, as he's just kind of like bungee gumming around. He's like a fucking clown with gum version of Spider-Man. And basically the premise of this is some guys from the past that fought against Netero. They're clan basically was done in dirty by hunters. They were destroyed, so they're coming back with vengeance against Netero and the hunters, and they're basically trying to, take everyone down. And all of this movie, for the most part, happens inside Heaven's Arena, so you get a lot of familiar settings within this film. I didn't really like how they tried to downplay a lot of the floor masters in this film, because a lot of the floor masters, for the most part, just get their asses kicked by own infected people. And I understand why they were trying to do it, because at the end of the day, they want to make the threat feel credible. And if, holy shit, they're taking out all of these floor masters, then that makes you think, oh wow, so these On people are something to be feared. They're not just regular Joe. So in that aspect, I get it, but they definitely downplayed the Floor Masters, and you know, if you go back to Heaven's Arena, they were something to be like, holy shit. So in that regard, I was a little bit disappointed as well. Like, a lot of the elements of this film that I would definitely say are like sort of negatives is mainly that they downplay a lot of different things, and a lot of different characters could have get a little bit more screen time. Like, Gon and Killua have a lot of screen time. Characters like Leorio got very minimal. Hisoka got minimal. So in that regard, I wish they would have given more screen time to everybody. I mean, Kurapika got a decent amount of screen time, and he does have some very awesome moments in the film, but they could have given a little bit more screen time to everybody, I feel. And I definitely say that they were trying to play off of what was going on in the anime at the time, and some of the events that was about to occur in the anime, because a lot of the things with Gon kind of correlates back to the series, and a lot of his anger, and some of the things that happen, I won't spoil, but during the Neferpito fight, I definitely felt as though they were referencing that to a certain degree with his anger and all the things that was going on with him in the film. So I like that they played off of that as well. I felt it was done nicely, and it was just giving a nice nod to one of the greatest moments in all of Hunter x Hunter. You even get a cameo of Pariston in this film, even though he's just like smiling like, I don't give a fuck! And to put it plain and simple, for the most part, this movie was a good movie. It's only towards the ending of the film, literally probably the last 10 or 15 minutes, where it starts to slowly fall apart to a certain degree, where you start getting fairy tale-esque type of things where like Killua stops somebody from just saying, you know, your friend was like this, you shouldn't do this, I have a friend, this and that, and kind of like stops it. So it was definitely trying to play on that, you know, good versus bad emotions to stop anger, you know, being happy, and bonding definitely stops hatred. So it started going in that direction, which kind of made me think like, how much involvement did Togashi have in this if it started going in that direction? We know Togashi, and a lot of the elements of this film felt like Togashi had very minimal input regarding how things go. Like, even the way Netero was done in this film, I don't feel Togashi would have done that. It mainly felt like a crutch just to have him locked up and not being able to do anything throughout the film. And then the last few minutes definitely felt as though it was trying to go for, you know, the family audience. Because at the end of the day, while this is Hunter x Hunter, they're also trying to make a movie that is going to sell and families are going to go watch. And towards the end, with the final fights and things with like Gon and stuff like that, it definitely started going into the, you know, oh, my anger and my my love and everything, and it definitely started going in that direction towards the end, and we know that that's not what Hunter x Hunter is about. So I would say for the most part, this movie was pretty damn good. It's just the ending, the way things started turning out towards the end, I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, it started going in towards like a feelings type of route and just like hugging and stuff like that. But aside from that, a lot of the action sequences was awesome. Some of the stuff in the elevator shaft, a lot of good fights went down in this film. So if you want some awesome fights, you're going to get that. If you want to see some of your favorite characters, a lot of cameos, you want to get a little bit nostalgic seeing Heaven's Arena, you're going to get that as well. But some of your characters that you probably want to see go in, unfortunately, it's going to be a little bit disappointing. Hisoka really doesn't do too much in this film. You see him, but he doesn't do too much. Leorio, likewise, he's kind of just like clownish a little bit. You got a little bit of that Kurapika, so in that sense, a lot of Kurapika fans rejoice, and Gon and Killua, you know, just kill it in this film. So in that regard, it's a lot of it, I felt as though it was like a nostalgia rush for earlier arcs of Hunter x Hunter, and some good action pieces. And overall, it was a decent story. It was nothing crazy. It was mainly just people that were pissed off with Netero and the Hunter Association from the past are coming back to get revenge, and Gon and Killua and them got to stop them. Simple as that. It's just towards the end, it really just started to feel a little bit like generic and shonen-y. And again, we all know Togashi, and he's really not down with that. I mean, Hunter x Hunter is arguably sometimes bordering the lines of seinen. So overall, I gotta say that this was a good film. It wasn't great. It was a step up from the last film, but definitely I think they could have done maybe a little bit of a better job, especially towards the end, and kind of having a little bit more involvement. They could have cut down on a lot of the Gon and Killua scenes. I love Gon and Killua, but I think it would have been nice to get a really epic moment with Leorio in this film, and maybe have Hisoka do a little bit more. It kind of felt out of character as well for Hisoka, that is so lusty towards a great fight, for him to just be clowning around, no pun intended, and not doing too much. So overall, it was a good film. I'm gonna give this one a 7.5 out of 10. It was good. Let's see where they go from here if they do another film, because definitely it was good. I just wish the ending would have been a little bit different. Maybe they should have let Netero handle it. I know at the end of the day, they got to make the main characters, Gon and Killua, do most of the work, but it would have been nice for Netero to come in and finish what he started all those years ago. And also, a lot of the friendship and love stuff definitely started to infect towards the end. Let me know what you thought. If you've seen the film, what do you think? I will tell you right now, the animation, godlike. The animation was beautiful, flawless. I did notice a couple different times that it seems as though different teams worked on it. So there were times where the character designs looked different. It didn't look really bad. It just looked different. So in that regard, yeah, I noticed that. But as far as the animation goes, just for the most part, it was just godlike. Even better than the TV series. The music, beautiful as ever. Voice acting, great. The plot, it was good. You know, simple enough. And ultimately, towards the end is really where the flaws were seen. Because other than that, it was a pretty damn good film. But if you've seen the film, let me know what you thought. Favorite moments? Were you disappointed with anything? What did you think about the plot? Do you think there's a possibility that this could be canon or own could be worked into the story? Maybe it has something to do with the latest arc that we're in right now in the manga. And just your overall thoughts of the film. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, you can do so as well. That'd be awesome. I'm from Netero, and as always, people, have an awesome day. So today I'm going to be giving you guys a review of Hunter x Hunter, The Last Mission, the latest movie to come out of Hunter x Hunter, and just kind of give my thoughts a little bit about what I thought of it. Now I want to start off by saying that compared to the first film, I will automatically tell you guys that I think it's a way better film than the first one. The first one, it was alright. It really had a lot of different problems, I felt, and I never really gave a review because of that. I was kind of like a little bit disappointed. So going into this movie, I didn't really have any expectations at all just because I didn't want to be let down like the first film. Now the film starts off with a bang, the Netero versus Jed scene where they're just going in, fighting muscle upon muscle. I was like, hell's fucking yeah, this is how you start a film. It starts off almost immediately with CGI, and it wasn't really bad CGI or anything like that. And the CGI scenes that we did get in this film, sometimes it actually looked good on character models at that, because normally I don't like CGI, especially bad looking CGI, but the CGI in some of these scenes, like there's times where like Golan is spinning around and everything, it actually looked pretty good. So I gotta commend them for doing decent